Hey there. Thanks for tuning in to episode 22 of my podcast series, Sonia Space. I'm actually really looking forward to talking about today's topic, and thank you to those who take a poll on my Instagram story just to kind of get an idea of what my listeners want me to talk about. And this one got a very popular vote. And I think this is something that we all need to talk about because I think it's a serious topic and it has a lot to do with the way we treat ourselves. It's a reflection of how we treat ourselves and it's a reflection of our environment because your environment does matter. The people around you do matter with the way that you are and with the way that you grow and become a person. So, for today's topic, we are going to talk about adult friendships and how to navigate through adult friendships. And the reason why I want to talk about this topic, and I can see why a lot of people wanted me to talk about this, is obviously many of us have struggled to keep friendships or align with friends or friendships and kind of determine you're kind of really being very thorough and very mindful of what kind of friends you want to keep in your life. And the reason why I say adult friendships is because typically at a young age, when you're in high school or maybe even college, at least for me, I wasn't thinking too much about the types of friendships that I had, right? Like, I just had friends, regardless of history, whatever. I just kept people around just to keep around. And as you get older, as you know, um, get on the path of your career, get married, have kids, have a relationship, you get more serious with your life and you become older and you become wiser and you become more mature, you start to realize that not all your friendships or not all your friends are your friends. And what I mean by that, it doesn't necessarily mean that that friend is a bad person. I don't think anyone is ever really a bad person. It's just, are they your friends? Is this the type of person you want to keep into your life? So let's dive into and talk about ways to navigate through your adult friendships or create the adult friendships that you need in your life. I would say that one of the biggest challenges with finding friends as an adult is finding the worthy ones, right? You're finding the genuine and authentic ones that want to truly support you and your growth. I'm not saying that all the friends that you have as an adult should be your close friend or your best friend, but you you become very mindful of even the ones that are surface level. Even if they're surface level, you want to make sure that they have a positive impact to your life. And one of the challenges that we face as adults, and I know I've personally dealt with this, is sometimes, you reevaluate your circle and you reevaluate the people in your life, and you realize that history doesn't necessarily matter for a friendship. For the most part, I've seen that history does not matter with friendships. And, sometimes you're just on different paths or your values change or you have a different perspective on things. And, someone could be married and you're not, or someone could have a baby and you don't have one. You have differences in your lifestyle as well that you didn't necessarily have when you were younger, or maybe even your religious views, your political views, things of that sort. And I think the beauty of becoming an adult and finding yourself and living in your true authenticity, whatever it may be, you become very mindful of who you want to keep in your life. And yes, it may hurt to let some of your friendships go or you don't interact with them as much, but you also make space for friends who truly nourish your soul, nourish your mind, and lift your spirits. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. And you want to start off, if you want to keep true friendships around you, especially throughout your adult life when we're very busy and, our lack of time and our priorities, you just have to really reevaluate again, right? With the types of friends that you have. And I think the number one thing that you can do for yourself, and this doesn't apply to everybody, of course, but you have to determine is when I'm hanging out with this person, am I just hanging out with them because I've known them for X amount of years? Or, we've all hung out for years in a group, 10, 15, 20 years. Am I getting anything out of it? Do I feel, a surge of positive energy? Do I dread seeing this person? Do I dread texting them? And maybe at some point in your life, you do. You realize that, I don't really like hanging out with this person as much, or I'm dreading even seeing this person, or I don't want to talk to this person as much. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. You just realize that your priorities change, your perspectives change, your lifestyle changes. And you have to come to terms with the fact that, okay, this friendship is either no go or it's just surface level. You just make adjustments to your life. I also think you're doing yourself a disservice by being around people that you don't want to really be around. And it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and you're actually losing all that time with that person when you can be using that time with somebody where you make great memories and have good times and create quality moments with this person. So I would start off by, of course, reevaluating your friendships, right? And figure out which categories they fall into. And maybe you're already at that point where you're like, I'm really struggling with some of my friends, or maybe I don't have as many friends, or I have too many friends and they don't actually provide me depth and value. And all of those are okay. I think, ultimately, it doesn't matter how many friends you have. You want to make sure that you have a few that you can truly rely on and you know that they're your go to person and who actually bring depth and value and quality time into your lives. So start off by really reevaluating your friendships and your circle or your circles and put them in different categories. So for me, I have different categories for my friends. I have a few friends where they're very close to me and I will tell them my secrets or whatever, right? Like I have those intimate moments with them where we can really get deep into conversation, which I wouldn't want to do with anybody else. And I'm usually pretty reserved in that sense. So for me to open up to you takes a lot. I don't trust everybody with my information. And then I have friends where it's just surface level, right? Like we hang out based off of just the similar things that we like, right? Like music, traveling, whatever it may be. I have friends where I talk to and we get along based off of our interests. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're having like deep conversations or I'm expected to have that with them or they're going to provide that for me. But it's just, sometimes you get together and you just have a good time talking about similar interests or whatever it may be. And it's a positive interaction. It actually makes you feel good, but it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that you're super, super close to. And then, of course, you have friends that are like your coworkers, like your colleagues, or someone you met in your Pilates class or whatever, right? Like you have friends where you're in similar situations, or you go to class together, or you go to work together. And who knows, they might end up being really close to you. But these are kinds of people that you keep around based off of similar interests or proximity or different values and perspectives in life. Another thing I would say as you get older, especially in your like late 20s and your 30s, you identify behaviors in people that is unacceptable to you in friendships, because that will help you determine what kind of friend you want to keep in your life. And I say, always allow grace, because we're not all perfect, right? Like I've definitely made mistakes. Like other people make mistakes when it comes to friendships. But when you reach a certain point in your life, especially at this age, there are some things that you just kind of realize are unacceptable. Or if you see a pattern in a friendship that is just not working out, it doesn't make sense, because remember, actions over words, right? Your actions, your patterns, it does not matter what you say to me. Your actions will prove to me otherwise, right? And I think that's really important in friendships and having quality friendships in your life, regardless of them being your close friends or not. But a person who comes with authenticity and is genuine and genuinely wants to be your friend would not have these type of characteristics where they're trying to manipulate you or use you or get their way. These things are very noticeable as an adult. You may not notice it when you're younger. When you're an adult, you know when someone's playing you. It's very obvious. And you don't necessarily have to call them out on it. I think it just depends on the friendship. But these are things that you should be mindful of in friendships, because this does happen to a lot of people, right? Like, again, you can just be friends with somebody for a long time, but that doesn't mean anything. So you want to make sure that you have friends around you that respect you and truly want to hang out with you and be with you, and are not just there just to be there for numbers or, ways to manipulate you or use you for their own benefits. It's very obvious when people do that. And I think this has a lot to do with your values and what you accept from others and their values. So I would also say that be able to recognize friends that hold you back. And in whatever way they're hindering your growth, or, you're not that version of yourself anymore and you're growing out to be a different person, whatever it may be, you just have to make sure that you're having friends who accept your growth, that accept your transformation. You're not going to be the same person that you were when you were in high school or in college, but they accept your transformation and who you are as a person. And if they don't, then, you just split ways. And remember, the right friends will not only accept your growth, but they will grow with you. They will be part of the process and they will evolve with you. Also, in adult friendships, I think you have to be really mindful of making time for your friends as well, right? And if you're not able to make time for a friend, I hope there's a mutual understanding of some sort, right? Like someone could be really busy with their work, or someone could be really busy with, their kids. Like, life changes, right? You're not your own person. Like you have all these things around you that are happening and you're making something of yourself. I think that you have to have a good indicator in place to know if someone really wants to be your friend or not. You want to make sure that it's consistent. So it's okay if you can't meet up a few times, but eventually you do, right? Like there has to be a form of mutual understanding between friends. And yes, you do have to put in effort with friendships, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to put in a lot of effort, but you have to put in some sort of effort to show, hey, I want to spend time with you today, or I want us all to hang out, or let's do this, or I thought of you today, or these are moments that should be cherished and you should be willing to do for your friends. I think to keep a friendship going, you have to put in some sort of an effort to keep it going. And it comes with mutual respect and understanding. And yes, it could be harder as an adult because, like I said, you have your own life. But when you truly value or cherish a friend, you will make time for that friend and vice versa. It at the end, it always works out. I've seen this with some of my friends where it's like, regardless of whatever, we still come together and hang out, right? Maybe it's been a month or 2 months or a few months, right? I have friends that live in the city, in different cities. We always just make it work out, right? We're very understanding of each other's lifestyles and jobs or family, whatever, family matters, whatever. But usually that's a huge indicator of a good friendship. And also, when you have a disagreement or a fight with a friend, and this has happened to me in the past too, but it all comes down to, man, accountability is so important, right? I think as an adult, of course, we all make mistakes, we're humans, but holding yourself accountable and admitting your wrongs and saying, how you felt, that is very important to me. And I think that should be very important to all adults that are navigating through their friendships. And that to me holds so much value in a friendship. And I will definitely keep you around as my close friend if you're doing that. And if there's no accountability and there's no sense of grace, you know, or responsibility, then why be friends with that type of person? Right? Because they will continue to disrespect you. And that's not okay for me especially, right? Because for me, lying and not holding yourself accountable is completely unacceptable to me from anybody in my life. So you also have to figure out your values and what you'll accept in a friendship. And I always say this, when you're reflecting on the types of people in your life, don't forget about yourself either. Think about ways that you can also be a better friend. And I've had to do this in my life where I'm like, hey, like I've had friends call me to do something and I had to back out last minute. I don't think that's okay. And, there's just different things that I've done in my life that I didn't realize that it was impacting somebody else. But make sure that you're being a good friend or a better friend as well, right? At least to me, I feel like friendships are really important and valuable to me. And if you're my friend, you will know that I value you. You will know for sure that I value you and I cherish you. And I don't give that to many people. And it all comes down to really determining how you could be a better friend too for someone, right? So you determine how someone can be a good friend to you, but are you providing the same values and the same concepts to the other person as well? You have to be really mindful of that. And I talked about it in one of my episodes. I forgot which one it was, but I talked about love languages in relationships. You got to figure out languages in friendships too. I know what a friend of mine likes or what makes them happy. I know which friend likes hugs, which friend likes gifts, which friends like quality time or checking in. I'm aware of these things because I will take the time, if I want you in my life, to do those things. So, you also have to work on being a good friend as well. And I truly believe that whatever good you put out there, it comes back to you. So If you go in with a genuine attitude, with genuine efforts to make friendships with somebody, and if the values align, they will reciprocate that, right? And you have your entire life to make friendships, right? But I think in these moments, I was in your late 20s, early 30s, they become more valuable and they also reflect a lot on your values and your perspectives and your lifestyles. And that can change in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, but at least you're having people around you that have a positive impact to you and your growth or whatever it may be. So I would really keep that in the back of your mind when you're making friends or are friends with people. And remember, always go in with grace, be open to forgiveness, right? We're all humans, we all make mistakes. But again, do not be in a position to where you're manipulated or you feel like you're being used, or it's just, you'll feel it in your gut when something isn't right. So confrontation, communication, understanding is key. And if that's also not there, then they're not meant to be best friends with you or good friends with you. And it's okay. You sometimes have to let friends go in your life, but you open doors to new friendships. And that's such a beautiful thing to have people in your life who are different and give you a different sense of living and being and different perspectives on life. I wanted to end this episode with a quote. I swear this quote just showed up on my Instagram page. First thing I saw, and it really resonates with what I was talking about today. And the quote is, once you decide you want a good life, the universe will start moving things for you to have it. The people you need will happen. The doors you need to open will unblock. But not until you decide. Once you truly, sincerely decide, miracles will happen. And I know it's talking about good life, but having a good life consists of having positive and empowering people around you. Has a huge impact to your life. But you just have to make that decision for yourself. Is how am I going to change my life and make space for people and things that make me feel good and live a good life? Thank you so much for listening in today. I am so grateful for all the support and feedback I've been getting. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to Sonia Space and follow me on Instagram for sneak peeks on upcoming episodes as well as other inspirational content. I hope your day goes well and I've left you feeling inspired. Bye-bye.